Hello and welcome to my channel. This is part 2 of my Guild Wars lore series. In part 1 we followed our character's origin story at the fall of Krytan. Here in part 2 we will look back at the awakening of the Sylvari and the early life of Caithe, Faolian, Canach, Wynne and Ceara, aka Scarlet Briar. Needless to say, spoilers ahead for season 1 and 2 of The Living World. So let's tarry not and cast our narrative eye back to 1302 after Exodus, decades before our journey will begin, to the tarnished coast, to the pale tree, to an awakening. For the first time in living memory, a new race of sentient beings had been born into the world. These new people were the Sylvari, the pale tree's firstborn, and they numbered 12. For 2 years, the firstborn explored the grove and the jungles of Maguma together. Then the second-born awakening in 1304 swelled their numbers by approximately 84. Of this host, 6 Sylvari would go on to play major roles in the overarching narrative of Guild Wars 2. For today, our tale begins in a Maguman laboratory, where the Asura Vorp administered torturous experiments on a host of captive Sylvari. This is not the first time the Asura had kidnapped and vivisected the tree children, but here in this hidden workshop, he had mechanized their murder. Among their number were the second-born Canach. In that hell he tasted injustice and pain, cruelty and indifference, which changed him and shaped his destiny anew. All those who survived Vorp's officious scrutiny did so thanks to 2 firstborn, Caithe and Faolian. These 2 were by far the most adventurous of all the firstborn. In the years following their awakening, they had been the first saplings to venture outside the protection of their mother's grove. Together they explored Maguma, then Krytan and beyond. Their escapades fostered a deep, enduring bond, and in the fullness of time, their kinship blossomed to love. Together they would weather many storms, but as Caithe grew stronger and more resilient in the face of adversity, Faolian's kind heart withered, choked by the brutality of the world and stifled by the strict code of her kind. Both had been touched and tempted by darkness in the corrupted lands of Or, but it was her who longed to surrender to it. In the shadow of that rising inner darkness, Faolian had grown mistrustful of her fellow firstborn, and arguments had flared as she questioned the teachings of Ventari and their vaunted purpose. Links above to a deep dive on Ventari and the birth of the Pale Tree. But with Wynne, Faolian's distrust ripened to obsessive paranoia, all for a half-heard conversation between Wynne and the Pale Tree, the topic of which was the origin of their race. Oh, how Faolian had pressed Wynne and her mother. But all for naught. Now, in the aftermath of the kidnapping, Faolian's rage and frustration turned back towards Wynne, and this time she would have her answers. With Caithe at her side, she headed to the Silver Waste to confront her sister. The desert sands ran red with the blood of Wynne's protectors as they cornered their terrified sister.
You're not leaving until you tell me the truth.
Why? Why are you doing this?
Because I need to know. We need to know. Tell me what you and Mother were talking about that day.
Faolian, this isn't necessary. Please, Faolian, stop this. Please. I promised our mother I wouldn't tell anyone. Please. Let's go talk to her.
I'll make you wish you'd never left the dream, traitor.
I can't tell her what she's asking for, Caithe. You've seen what Faolian's capable of. She massacred those centaurs.
They attacked first. She had to defend herself.
She struck first. He was unarmed.
No, I don't think she'd...
She'll torture me until I tell my secret. That will be the end of our kind.
The end of Sylvari? What do you mean?
We come from the jungle dragon. We belong to it. We're meant to serve it.
You're lying!
I saw it in my dream. And if Faolian knew, she wouldn't keep it a secret. She'd use it against Mother. When word got out, the world would see us as monsters. You know her. All she wants is power. Think. She will break me unless you kill me first. Faolian must never learn. Please, kill me now.
She's coming. I will bear your pain, sister.
Hurry!
Caithe, what have you done? Did she talk?
No. Nothing of consequence.
Stood over the lifeless body of Wynne, Caithe abandoned Faolian, banished her from the grove, and refused to follow her into the dark embrace of the Nightmare Court. Caithe would keep Wynne's secret and protect her people, no matter the cost. But Caithe would not be the last Sylvari to uncover the truth of their race. And Faolian was not the last to walk a dark path. In fact, her slow, sorrowful descent into nightmare pales in comparison to the ill-fated second-born Ceara. Where Faolian was fire and fury, Ceara was ice and indifference. The only thing these sisters shared was an abiding mistrust of the path chosen for them. Their mother's foresighted guidance was a shackle both broke. And it was not that either were born to evil. In truth, Ceara had deep passions, but not for people. She sought understanding. The world was a puzzle to her unique mind, and she would dedicate her life to the pursuit of knowledge. First, from the greatest minds of her people, then, some 8 years later, from the brilliant non-smith, Birgith. 2 short years later, her next apprenticeship would be under the keen-eyed sniper, Asage, a char of the Iron Legion whose expertise lay in demolition and artillery. Ceara learned all she deemed worthy from the char, and then cast her gaze toward the tarnished coast once more, but not to the grove. Now only one source of knowledge was left untapped, the colleges of Ratassoon, and the hardest task for Ceara was gaining entry. Surin arrogance is legendary, but not even the most elitist of the Arcane Council could deny her potential. 4 years later, at the tender age of 17, Ceara had assimilated all she could from the colleges of dynamics and statics, discovering a global network of ley lines in the process, nothing less than the magical beating heart of Tyria. As well, in these years, turning her skilled hand to the creation of steam golems. But it was in the College of Synergetics where she found her first true calling. The machinations of the eternal alchemy could be the key to truly understanding the wonders of nature and magic, and reality itself. She won the position of lab assistant to the headmaster of the college, Omad, as her studies intensified. Sadly, at the end of long years of research, her conclusions were largely rejected by her peers and professors alike. Despite the support of Omad, her work was dismissed, pushing the young academic into the welcoming arms of the Inquest. With their resources, she was able to perfect her steam portal and sentient golems, but it was the marriage of her portal research and ether that led to huge success. Unfortunately, her misuse of the tech to plunder the archives of Ratassoon in service of the Inquest, well, that would see her expelled from the city after being stripped of her academic credentials. She was not idle, however, after this setback, taking up the study of hylic poisons and potions in her exile. These studies, however, proved to be of fleeting interest, and when Omad invited her to explore the eternal alchemy once more at his side, she accepted gladly. This is where our tale grows dark, for what Omad and Ceara created would bring naught but suffering and pain. To study the eternal alchemy, Omad had created a machine to observe the fundamental forces of nature. The joy Ceara felt stepping into that contraption was equaled only by the sorrow that followed. As her consciousness expanded, a universe of hidden beauty blossomed before her, and she heard the faint voice of the pale tree warning her to turn back. But she would not be denied. She was in control of her own fate, free to pursue her own agenda. Then she heard the call, looking upon the face of her creator, upon the visage of the elder dragon Mordramoth. Her beautiful mind shattered. someone else stepped out of that machine. Ceara was gone, and in her place, brimming with terrible purpose, stood Scarlet Briar. Umad would be the first to die by her hand, but he would not be the last. I hope you enjoyed this meander down memory lane. Please do like the video if indeed you did like it. Subscribe for the next installation of this lore series. And let me know if you think that Season 1 will return to the game. I sincerely hope so. And whilst you're down there typing furiously in the comments about all the things that I've missed out, and there are numerous things I've missed out, please do show some love to Arthur, YU, Cody, Kildare, Cub, Molini, Jelly Toastar, Dark, Griever, and all my wondrous, fantabulous Patreons, without whom I will be unable to dedicate the time and resources I do to my content creation. I can never thank you all enough. If you would like to join my band of nerdy awesome, links to my Patreon page below, and if you feel inspired to jump into Guild Wars 2, there are referral links down there as well for both the free-to-play game and the Path of Fire, which includes the content from the Heart of Thorns expansion as well, and you can pre-order the End of Dragons expansion in those links, and using any of these referrals directly supports my channel, but costs you, my dear friend, not a penny more. But sadly, we have come to the end. So until we meet again, please stay safe, stay awesome, and thank you so much for watching.